AM Best recently upped its estimate of ultimate losses for asbestos and environmental to $146 billion, precipitated by an increase on the environmental side. Overall losses have not slowed down, and the industry continues to pay out more each year than it's incurring. Here to discuss a recent report on the industry's A&E exposures is Brian Olarte, Director. And Brian, why did AM Best up its ultimate net exposure to $46 billion on the environmental side?
Main reason for the increase is we're not seeing the decline in the payout patterns as quickly as we anticipated, and that's largely due to the developments of original sites being a lot more toxic than they anticipated, and also the increase in cost of the cleanups and also the defense costs.
Now, AM Best is keeping its asbestos estimate at $100 billion. Could recent policy changes at EPA, however, impact that number?
Well, probably not. Since the 1980s, the industry put an exclusion on their general liability policies, which most of the asbestos is written under, for asbestos. So with new asbestos coming in, it won't be an insurable loss, but it could be a global loss, or I think it will be an impact on society because asbestos has been known to links to cancer, but I don't think it would be an insurable issue.
Are there any other potential threats out there that could impact A&E losses as we move down the road?
Well, it's interesting. I think the recently tried Johnson & Johnson cases that are coming through for the ovarian cancers and different types of cancers, they're going through. It's all depending on how it's labeled, I guess is the best way of putting it. If it's considered a asbestos within that product, then the chances of an insurable loss is slim. Like I mentioned before, since the 80s, they put an exclusion on asbestos. So the general liability claims won't be insurable. But if it's a talcum powder issue, that could be a whole different ballgame. That could be not an asbestos issue, but it could be an insurable loss.
What have insurers' attitudes been towards funding these A&E exposures?
Well, most of the larger ones, I would say the top 30 insurance companies periodically do what they call a ground-up study. So what they'll do is they'll do a deep dive in every claim, and then like every 2 or 3, 4 years, you'll see a spike in incurred losses and in payments. So over a period of time, they've been pretty steady. You know, you'll have a couple of years where they'll just do the normal check, and then they'll do small amounts of incurred, but every 3 or 4 years, you'll see a spike in it. So it's not as pay as you go, but they're keeping on top of it.
Thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
You can find the full report online at ambest.com. For AM Best TV, I'm John Weber.